Hi again, everyone. Gary Digital Williams here on Boxing Along the Beltway, our news and notes for this week. And not a whole lot of news, but we do have some breaking news that came out earlier today. And I got a couple of things to talk about, and with the amateurs and the pros. The amateurs getting a lot more work as of late. And we do have some pro news to talk about. And of course, at the second half of the podcast will be a tribute to truly one of the great promoters and one of my really good friends who passed away this past week. Beltway Boxing News and Notes brought to you by Real-Time Pain Relief, from boxers to ballerinas, from shoulder pain to muscle strain and everything in between. Boxing Along the Beltway recommends Real-Time Pain Relief, the natural, plant-based, safe, fast, and effective ointment. You go to freepainoffer.com, buy $10 worth in Real-Time Pain Relief. You get a free $10 tube of Real-Time Pain Relief. Rub it on, the pain is gone in real time. Well, the breaking news today took place in Sofia, Bulgaria, where two boxers out of Alexandria, Virginia, won their opening bouts at the Stranja tournament in Sofia, Bulgaria. Of course, we're talking about Keyshawn Davis and Troy Isley. They're both out of the Alexander Boxing Club, and of course, have had great 2017s and look like they're starting off real well in 2018. Davis is participating in his first international tournament, and he won by a 5-0 unanimous decision over Dmytro Cherniak of Ukraine in a lightweight contest today. So Davis will take on Armenian Hryar Shaverdian in Friday's quarterfinals. So congratulations to Keyshawn Davis. Of course, Troy Isley had an outstanding year in 2017. He continues it now. He won a unanimous decision in the middleweight bout. He defeated Marus Ganas of Sweden. So Isley moves on to the quarterfinals. His bout will take place tomorrow, Thursday, as we record this, and he'll be in a rematch against Ebert Sousa. He's out of Brazil, and the two of them met in the Continental Championships last year. And Isley won that bout, and he qualified for the World Championships, and that's where he won a bronze medal in the national competition. So, team best wishes to Keyshawn Davis and Troy Isley, and actually the whole USA Elite High Performance Squad is doing very, very well in that event over this past week. Only a couple of losses, but most of the boxers there have won their bouts, at least in their first round bouts. So we look for great things out of that team coming up. Now, USA Boxing has done very, very well as of late. They really did well during the Olympics in 2016 compared to how they've done in the past. And one of the reasons why they've done so well is a guy by the name of Koroma. And Koroma is a local guy out of Virginia. He actually fought as a pro at one time. He was 5-1, 3 KOs, good pro, but he had to retire from boxing because of an illness. I think he had a heart condition. I'm not exactly sure, but for some reason he had to retire from boxing. So he became a trainer and a coach, and he has done outstandingly as a trainer and coach at the Alexandria Boxing Club in Alexandria, Virginia. And he's also done well on a national level. And earlier this week, it was announced that Koroma has been promoted to the position of National Assistant Coach for USA Boxing. That is a tremendous honor and well-deserved indeed. Now, Koroma has served as USA Boxing's resident coach at the Olympic Training Center in Colorado Springs. He was a member of the 2016 U.S. Olympic coaching staff that went to Brazil. Of course, Antoine Russell was a part of that team. And during that event, the Olympics, the U.S. team had 3 Olympic medals. Clarissa Shields won her second straight gold medal. Shakira Stevenson won a silver medal. Nico Hernandez was the bronze medalist during the Olympics. That's the best U.S. finish at a men's world championship since 1999. And they've done great work. And Koroma was a lot of the reason why that has taken place. Now, in his new role, Koroma will continue to work with USA Boxing's coaching and high performance staff in the development, implementation of individual athlete training and competition, including plans for all national team athletes. And you also continue to manage the USA Boxing's recently expanded resident athlete program at the U.S. Olympic Training Center in Colorado Springs. And Matt Johnson, who is the USA Boxing High Performance Director, said, quote, Coach K has been a key component to USA's boxing success since coming on board full-time in 2016. He has a unique skill set that makes great impact on our boxers, both inside and outside the ring. We are fortunate to have him on our staff and look forward to his continued progression in the position of National Assistant Coach. And, of course, as I said, Koroma trains boxers at the USA Boxing in Colorado Springs, but he also continues to train athletes at the Alexandria Boxing Club. And, of course, Keyshawn Davis, Troy Isley, and Amelia Moore had outstanding years last year. We talked about Keyshawn Davis winning the Golden Gloves this year. First time that's happened since 2014. Amelia Moore had 4 national championships last year. And, of course, Troy Isley won a bronze medal in the World Championship. So they have done outstandingly over there in Alexandria, Virginia, and K. Koroma has a lot to do with that. And we congratulate him on his new position. Once again, he'll be the National Assistant Coach at USA Boxing. And continue with the amateurs. Of course, the Golden Gloves continue this week, this Saturday, February 24th at 7:30. Unfortunately, I was not able to get over to the first night competition. That snowstorm that came through the Beltway region last Saturday kind of caught me unawares, and I had to come from Baltimore all the way into Fort Washington through the snow, and I didn't want to chance that. The roads were kind of treacherous out there, so I got as far as my home, and that was it. I couldn't do it. So I do plan to be there this Saturday. Once again, starting 7:30. I will put up the bout sheet probably tomorrow. Unfortunately, however, I did not get the results from last week yet. So hopefully get that soon and put those up. But I did get the bout sheet for the upcoming event. The 28 scheduled bouts. Actually, take it back. A number of boxes did go unopposed. So it won't be as many bouts. And not only will the juniors and novices continue, but there'll be a couple open bouts scheduled for Saturday as well. So that's Saturday, February 24th, Rosecroft Raceway, Fort Washington, Maryland, the second week of the Washington Golden Gloves. So look forward to that. Now let's move to the pro ranks, and got a little bit of tough news in this situation. And that, of course, took place at the Don Haskins Center in El Paso, Texas. And that's where Thomas Top Dog Williams got knocked out in the 4th round by an unheralded boxer by the name of Humberto Velasco out of Mexico. And he's out of Aguas Calientes, Mexico. And Williams got off to a good start. He dropped Velasco. He had a picture-perfect counterpunch in the first round. And then Velasco came back in the second round, knocked Williams down with a right hand. Williams had come back, but any hard punch Velasco threw rattled him, according to FightNews.com reporter David Finger. Velasco would later drop Williams in both the 3rd and 4th rounds before the bout was stopped at 137 of the 4th round. Now, Williams complained at the last knockdown that he was hit in the back of the head. Of course, I didn't see the bouts. I don't really know. Excuse me, but it goes in the record books as knockout. And for Thomas Williams, who is now 20-4, 14 KOs, all 4 losses have been by knockouts. Now, the first knockout he suffered, I forgot who the opponent was, but it was a point where he got cut during that bout, and he couldn't really handle the cut. He didn't handle it very well, and went on to lose that bout. His last 3 bouts have been against the likes of Adonis Stevenson. Of course, he had a title shot in that bout against Adonis Stevenson for the WBC light heavyweight title. Got knocked out in the 4th round. His last bout, he got knocked out in the 6th round. And now he got knocked out again in the 4th round. This is tough. I mean, Thomas Williams, someone who I've enjoyed watching all throughout his career. He was named the Prospect of the Year a few years ago here in the Beltway. But right now, he's at a crossroads, to say the very least. And again, people talk about how he can still come back. And, people want to compare it, for example, to what happened to Sharmba Mitchell many years ago. Sharmba Mitchell, at one point, was 31-0. And then he lost back-to-back knockout contests against Levander Johnson and Stevie Johnston. I don't think that's actually why I think Stevie Johnston came first. But anyway, the losses set Mitchell back. However, Mitchell was still young, and he had not had a title shot yet. So he worked his way back into contention, moved up to junior welterweight. He was a lightweight at that time. He moved up to junior welterweight, went on a roll, and subsequently won the title against Khalid Ralidu in 1998. This is a different story. Thomas Williams had lost going into the championship bout against Adonis Stevenson. Excuse me. He has had a title shot, but after the title shot, he's lost 2 of his last 3. I take it back. He's lost 2 straight. Excuse me. He's lost 2 straight, and in crushing fashion. So that's going to be tough going forward. I don't know where where he goes at this point. That's going to be a real tough situation for Thomas Top Dog Williams Jr. Right now, it looks like he cannot get up to that elite level. Pardon me, just for a quick second. Try to clean my throat a little bit. My apologies. But I don't know. I don't know where he will be at this point. You know, he's a great fighter. He's done a lot for the area. He's been very successful overall. But right now, he's at a crossroads. His record now 20-4, 14 KOs. Velasco moves up to 19-1-1, 14 KOs. Now, of course, this Saturday at the Showboat Hotel in Atlantic City, New Jersey, Jamal Dyer out of Baltimore, Maryland, he returns. He'll take on Vanderlei Miranda on that card, and just got word that card will be another one of the Fight Night Live telecasts, actually webcasts that are on Facebook Live, and you can see it for free. Starts at 7 o'clock. As a matter of fact, I believe they're doing 3 that evening. Not exactly sure, but that's a great site, and you can see them for free. The last time I got a chance to see that was, of course, when DeMarcus Corley fought hammering Hank Lundy, and the webcast was very good, very clean, good angles, and should be very interesting to see what happens there. So Jamal Dyer's card will be televised, I should say, shown on Facebook Live in the Fight Night show, and that'll be on Saturday, February 24th, beginning at 7 p.m. Eastern Time from the Showboat Hotel in Atlantic City, New Jersey. So wish them well on that one. And then on Saturday, March 3rd, of course, we talked about last week at the Barclays Center in Brooklyn, New York, Antoine Russell on that card. That's the Deontay Wilder and Luis Ortiz card that takes place at the Barclays Center. Antoine Russell will be in that card. His bout scheduled for 6 rounds, and Shingas Khan Tazabai will be in the 6-round bout for the first time, and he'll be on that card. No word yet on their opponents as of yet. So wish them well coming up on Saturday, March the 3rd. Now, this is going to be a tough one. No question about that. This past week, I was going over some of the bouts just through Boxing Along the Beltway that I was able to cover from Michael's 8th Avenue in Glen Burnie, Maryland during the Ballroom Boxing promotion. Ballroom Boxing started in 1995 and went on until 2010. And the brainchild, the man behind the brains of that outfit, the man behind that promotion, I should say, was Scott Wagner. And for those who do not know, Scott Wagner passed away back on Saturday, February 17th, just at 49 years old. He had liver failure. And this is just a tough one. It really is. I first met Scott prior to the very first Ballroom Boxing card. The main event was Victor Davis versus Napoleon Pitt. Napoleon Pitt was out of Virginia. And, of course, Victor Davis, one of the great boxers that came out of the Beltway. And got a chance to work. I think Scott at first was kind of skeptical of what I was trying to do because at that time we were doing Boxing Spotlight. And, we were doing shows all over the area, televising shows all over the area. And, he didn't give us the best arrangement at first, but we made do with it. Did a good job with the project, with the progress. Did the next couple of ones, and then Scott saw how he could take it to another level, and he used the guy who was the producer of our telecast, Rudy Childs, hired him and put together an upgraded version of Ballroom Boxing, and replaced myself and my crew, my announcing crew, my brother-in-law Charles James, and of course Hall of Fame fight Dr. Jerome Spears, with his own crew, Larry Michael, John Saraceno, and John Scheinman. And at first I was really upset about it, to be perfectly honest with you. However, I realized, a few months later, really, it was business. And it didn't stop us from what we were doing. We were doing other shows around the area. We'd still come to Ballroom Boxing. I was still coming to Ballroom Boxing because at that time by the time they started the Ballroom Boxing show, I had started working with FightNews.com. That was in 1999. And so I was still involved and coming to the shows. And when I was coming to the show, Scott and I really developed a friendship. And it was, to see Scott's enthusiasm for every aspect of the Ballroom Boxing promotion. Make no mistake, Ballroom Boxing set a standard in this area for how to do promotion. I saw where Ross Malvinsky said he learned a lot from. Of course, Keystone set their own standard. Keystone Boxing set their own standard, but Ballroom Boxing really set a major standard for a lot of reasons. Number one, the bouts. Now, at one point, Scott Wagner, Scott had wanted to promote boxers. He did promote a boxer briefly by the name of Alfonso Too Good For You Daniels. He was a young man I believe he was out of Upper Marlboro, Maryland. And he was probably the first, for lack of a better term, star that the ballroom had. He had appeared on more Ballroom Boxing cards. I think he did like 15 cards over the years. And he was a good boxer. He really was. He really was a solid boxer. Didn't get to a huge level, but still was one of the more exciting boxers they had. And I know at one point, Scott had him under a promotional contract. That may have been the only one. I don't think it was too many others. I know there were a couple he tried to get. I know he wanted to get Jimmy Lang. And again, as I said a few podcasts ago, if you wanted to see where the legend of Jimmy Lang first started, it did not start at the Patriot Center / Eagle Bank Arena. It started in the ballroom. And Jimmy expressed that recently. That's where it started, because he had great bouts against James Johnson, a couple other boxers that brought the house down at Michael's 8th Avenue, Glen Burnie. And of course, Darnell the Dingling Man Wilson was a major star during that promotion as well. That's where his legend started, in the ballroom, and Darnell has mentioned that as well. But what set Ballroom Boxing apart from all the other promotions that I've ever worked with in this area was the fights that, for the most part, with very few exceptions, were competitive. And as the series wound down, I was looking through this as I was kind of reminiscing. It wasn't even about promoting the Beltway boxers, because as the series wound down, he had fewer and fewer Beltway boxers on the card, which I didn't criticize him for. But we had gotten to a point in our area where we didn't have a lot of boxers that were good enough to really do it. We were kind of in a down period at that time period anyway. So it was tougher for Scott Wagner, along with his staff, the matchmakers, Chris Middendorf, Josh Hall, Jet Novotny, and Dave Wilkerson, the event coordinator, to really get a lot of local guys. He did get some solid out-of-towners, though. I mean, you look at people like Derek Ennis, who, again, I think was one of the best and one of the greatest bouts in the history of ballroom boxing when he and Maxwell Taylor got on a 6-round draw. That was a great bout between the two. Also, he brought in Kermit Cintron. He brought in the Durrell brothers. He brought in Terrence Crawford, very young Terrence Crawford, fought in his second pro bout there in the ballroom. And one of the more celebrated bouts in ballroom boxing history was when Hasim Rahman came back and he took on Al Cole, former IBF cruiserweight champion, in a bout that took place at Michaels that not only was a ballroom boxing telecast, it was on Home Team Sports, which was now, I guess now NBC Sports Washington now. But it was a great night, really was. It was a big night for us. They brought in my old buddy George Johnson to host the show. John Shyman played the Harold Letterman / T. Farhood character, and they asked Larry, Michael, and John Saraceno asked them for the scores and so forth, an official scorecard. But it was a big night. So the bouts themselves are fantastic. The atmosphere at ballroom boxing, second to none. Between the food that was there, if you like to drink, I'm not a drinker, but if you like to drink, the drinks were there. And, of course, the women were there. I mean, you had the young lady, I can't remember her name, who used to greet everybody as they walked in the door with a big pan of beer. And she was gorgeous. Of course, the ring card girls. Who can forget Mary? Mary and Crystal. Two tremendous ring card girls who were there every show. The hostesses that were there. I mean, I hate to sound chauvinistic, but it was a beautiful touch to that atmosphere at Michael's 8th Avenue. It was fantastic. And Scott was just going over the place. He didn't want to get a lot of the limelight, but you knew he was there. He was working the crowds. He was saying hi to everybody. And toward the end of the run, after every show we did, by that time, Jerome Spears and I were doing the video casting of the show. We would go into the office and talk to both Scott and his late father, Michael Wagner, and just say how great everything went. And that's what we did. And it was a tremendous, tremendous time. And, of course, Scott Wagner and his partner, Scotty Krause, had the Ballroom Boxing Report that was on ESPN 1300 for a few years. And I was a frequent guest on that show. Just talk about the bouts, and, it was a great time. It was a time that probably will not be repeated anytime soon, if ever, in the Beltway. We look at what's going on now, and not a whole lot's going on right now in the area. We have no promoters stepping forward. And the sadness of Scott's passing, because I know Scott and I talked about it. He's talked about it with a number of people. He wanted to do one more show, and he didn't get that opportunity to do so. He was a great guy. He really was. He was a great guy. He had his demons, no question about it. A lot of people knew he had issues with drinking, and I think that's not a secret. But he fought it. He tried to make it better. I know people have told me he was on the donor list for a liver transplant. He just ran out of time, and that's a shame. He was a great guy, as I've said. He was a wonderful person. Think the world of him. And I'm definitely going to miss him. His memorial service will be this coming Saturday, February 24th, from 11 to 3. It'll be at Michael's 8th Avenue. which is, for those who don't know, 7220 Grayburn Drive in Glen Burnie. Going to miss him. I really am going to miss him. And there'll never be another Scott Wagner, and it'll be very difficult. I know you never say never, but it'll be very difficult to have a promotion that, Lou DiBella called it the best club show promotion in the country, and I know he modeled his Brooklyn boxing or Broadway boxing cards after ballroom boxing. Lou Duva, the late Lou Duva, would be here on a regular basis. He just loved it. Bert Sugar, God rest his soul as well. He would be here on a regular basis. He loved it. He loved it. I've talked to Tom Lavero. Tom Lavero's been there a few times, and he was the best club show in the nation. Everybody said that because it was. It was. And it was shown all over the world through the Armed Forces Network. And it was a privilege for me to say that I went to the majority of their shows. I know a couple of shows I was sick, couldn't make them, hated it, hated missing them, really did. I hated missing those shows. But I saw a good majority of it. I was there from the very beginning, and I'm proud to say that. And there will never be another ballroom boxing. There will never be another Scott Wagner. Once again, his memorial service this Saturday, 11 to 3 at Michael's 8th Avenue. Hope you can make it. If you knew anything about him, even if you didn't, if you want to learn about what it was like when we were really on the rise and really going strong in Beltway promotion, you might want to show up at Michael's 8th Avenue on Saturday. That'll do it for another edition of Beltway Boxing News and Notes. Once again, we're brought to you by Real Time Pain Relief. Rub it on. The pain is gone in real time. I'm Gary Digital Williams. Thanks so much for listening to me, and thank you so much for working with me as far as my recollection of Scott Wagner. Hope to see you all at the Golden Glove. I hope to be there myself. I should be there this week, and I hope to see you all there as well. Until then, thanks for listening. Always remember, keep supporting the best boxing in the world, the boxing along the Beltway. Thanks for listening. Take care.